So, speaking to a lot of people that work in accessibility, there seems to be a shared frustration of why accessibility isn't taken seriously. Or the main question is, how do I convince my boss of the importance of accessibility? That's a fair question, but what it comes down to is motivation. So when we hear the term carrot and stick, we might consider the carrot to be the reward and the stick to be the consequence of a non-action. But what does that mean in terms of accessibility? Well, let's look at the stick. Let's look at the core drivers of action: legal compliance and reputation management. Legislation compels decision makers to meet at least the minimum standards to avoid legal consequences such as fines or prosecution. And beyond this, a second driver emerges: preserving reputation. Organisations act to avoid damaging perception of being indifferent or uncaring, which can erode trust and alienate customers. What are the common arguments put forward to promote accessibility adoption? From my observations, two primary factors influence the push for accessibility. That's ethics and inclusivity. Ethics represents an empathic approach, prioritising moral responsibilities to create equal opportunities for all. It underscores the importance of doing what's right for society as a whole. And then you have inclusivity, which emphasises the value of ensuring no potential users are excluded, making accessibility essential for reaching and engaging a diverse audience. So why is this not working? Why is it 25 years on we find ourselves in the same position, still trying to justify accessibility to promote its importance? So what is it? What exactly drives accessibility adoption? For decision makers controlling budgets, the primary goal is to maximise profit while minimising costs, which is an understandable priority for any business. While concepts like ethics and inclusivity are undoubtedly important, they're often perceived as additional expenses rather than revenue-generating investments. This perception can make accessibility seem less appealing compared to features directly tied to increasing sales, such as a new product enhancement. However, this mindset overlooks substantial market potential for long-term benefits that accessibility can unlock, therefore positioning it as a strategic investment rather than a cost. Before addressing how we can drive change, it's essential to tackle some of the most persistent myths surrounding accessibility. Many of these misconceptions date back to the early days of the internet, when browsers were far less equipped to support accessible features. By debunking these outdated beliefs, we can clear the path for a more accurate understanding of accessibility's value and feasibility in today's digital landscape. Myth: 0.1% of the population only require accessibility, but in reality, current stats suggest this to be 160 times higher. It's a one-time fix. How many times have we heard that? But in reality, as with all active projects, components, data, resources, everything changes over time. And similarly, the effort to minimise barriers to entry must also be an ongoing and adaptive approach, not just treated as a one-time task. Slows down design and development. Not true. Accessibility, when integrated early, streamlines workflows and reduces costly redesigns later on. How many times have we heard this one? It's too costly. Well, again, that's not true. Accessibility offers a high return on investment, unlocking new markets and reducing long-term costs. Disabled people wouldn't use this site. Now, this assumption, of course, reflects ignorance, as disabled is a blanket term used to encompass diverse needs, including visual, auditory, cognitive, psychological and mobility impairments, to name just a few, many of which affect a significant portion of the population who actively engage online. Solely the developer's responsibility. Accessibility requires collaboration across teams, including designers, content creators, project managers and QA testers, as well as developers, to ensure an inclusive and seamless user experience. Compliance drives accessibility. Well, okay, it's partly true, but accessibility is driven by creating inclusive, user-friendly experiences. But compliance is merely a baseline that doesn't guarantee usability, if at all. Accessibility makes sites look ugly. Okay, right, this is definitely a throwback to the early days. Anyone old enough here to know that websites used to be built using tables? Yeah, literally table elements in HTML were used to make the pages look really great. But of course, there was issues with accessibility that forced the rendering of the tables to be different, and that affected the design. So that's kind of stuck with it. This is very outdated. Nowadays, browsers are a lot more advanced and capable of handling accessibility needs without affecting the way the page looks. Accessibility is just virtue signalling. I beg to differ. Accessibility is a practical investment that improves user experience, expands market reach, drives long-term business success, and is far beyond the means of appearances. And finally, the favourite here is a nice to have. How many times have we been told that? In reality, accessibility is a must-have, unlocking new markets, improving user retention, and ensuring competitive advantage. So the question is, how do we shift the focus entirely to the carrot and reduce the reliance on the stick? Since we're in a battle, going unarmed would be unwise. In this case, statistics are our ammunition, key to convincing those who control the purse strings and shifting accessibility from the stick to the carrot. So let's dive into some stats and note that the source is listed at the bottom of the screen. Big number here, 1.3 billion individuals are affected worldwide. That's 1 in 6 people, or if you like percentages, we'll call that 16%. Big number there. Now, 83% of this group will typically target sites that are accessible, and 71% are likely to abandon inaccessible sites, with 75% suggesting that ease of use beats product price every time. And what this relates to is a massive market opportunity of $13 trillion worldwide, and with a massive loss of 6.9 billion to industry worldwide. Now we have a clear understanding of the carrots that can drive accessibility adoption. Let's break them down into concise, actionable points you can use as persuasive ammunition. So to sum it up, accessibility can unlock revenue potential, gain the market advantage, boost conversion rates, expand customer loyalty, and reduce costs. So in conclusion, accessibility adoption is about shifting the focus from the stick to the far more compelling carrot. By embracing this approach, you can break the long-standing cycle of relying on fear and compliance, replacing it with motivation, driven by opportunity, innovation, and tangible benefits. It's a solution that not only fosters inclusivity, but also propels growth and success. Thank you for your time and attention. If you have any questions or interested in collaborating with AUIG or supporting the Accessibility Adoption Campaign, I'd love to hear from you. For more information, please visit auig.org.